At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
And welcome to Fruitloops. Buiti binafi and bienvenidos, bitches. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
Fruitloops is a podcast about true crimes committed by people of color and those who are othered and the victims, because there are, believe it or not, systems, institutions, and patterns in society that gatekeep this information. But we're going to give it to you straight, no chaser. The truth is, we're all capable of doing very shitty stuff.
Yep.
And all victims deserve to have their stories told. These crimes rarely get any public attention because, in the simplest of terms, the news is racist. Allegedly.
And we are Wendy and Beth. She's Wendy, a Black Latinx woman, and I'm Beth, and I just happen to be white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's just a little piece of who we are.
Oh, yes.
But who we are not is journalists, investigators, or psychologists. We're just a couple of gals interested in true crime. Also, the opinions expressed in this podcast are just that, our opinions.
All right. So, who are we talking about today, friend?
Well, today is our episode 238. About Vernon Brown, a serial killer and child molester out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and St. Louis, Missouri. He murdered girls and a woman and is suspected in many more murders.
Okay, before we get into that, how you doing?
I'm okay. It's been a really stressful week,
Yeah.
so I've just been getting through it.
Yeah.
What's getting me through it is the thought of
Relaxing.
Minnie and I are going on vacation next week, so I'm just holding on.
I love that. I love that. Soon you'll be free, toes in the sand, getting sunburnt, all those things.
No sunburn, thank you.
Good. I worry about you and Minnie in the sun too much. Don't do that, y'all, okay?
We use sunscreen and umbrellas and all that
good.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Because I'm old and I can't deal with it anymore.
There you go. Take care of that skin, amen?
Yeah.
You know, Black people do get skin cancer, but I walk around with my dark complexion acting like I'm invincible to the sun and just laughing at people who need to stand in the shade on a sunny day.
in the meantime, I'm like getting anxiety because I've been out in the sun for like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh shit.
Wait.
I need to get out of the sun.
What's the fear? Is it that you're going to get burned?
Sunburn and then skin cancer and yeah.
Well, everybody's going to get cancer if you live long enough.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get it before I need to.
That's a good point. Okay, well, you stay sunscreened up and relaxed down on that vacation. That's what we all hope for. I know, I do. Well, doing just fine over here. Feeling very excited for the school year to begin again.
Oh, yeah.
Summer break is far too long for me, if you ask me. These kids are bored, and I'm tired of seeing them all day. It's nonstop. What are we doing today? I'm bored. Blah, 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 blah. Get a job.
Yeah, so my grandson goes to like semi-year-round school.
Oh, yeah?
And so their summer vacation is 6 weeks. That's it.
Oh, that's good.
And then they get 2 weeks in the fall and 2 weeks in the spring, and then they get like a long winter break. So I thought it was pretty good. I think maybe, I don't know, it seemed short, really short.
Yeah. My kid's summer break is only 8 weeks.
Oh, okay. So just a couple of weeks longer than my
back
grandson's.
in the day, it was a full 90 days. I mean,
yeah,
and they got rid of that.
We had 3 months for sure.
But as America has gotten progressively dumber, I feel like, and draining all the money out of the education system, I feel like the school year, the calendar has changed. There's a lot of half days. There's a lot of...
Oh, that's right.
So it kind of, there's trade-offs and, we're all doing our best with the system that we've got. But shout out to all the teachers. We are so grateful for you. I cannot wait for my kids to meet their new teachers.
I could not be a teacher. I could not do it.
I thought about it for a long time. I was actually talking to somebody the other day. I was at a barbecue. And somebody was like, oh, what'd you major in college? And I was like, oh, because my plan was to be a Spanish teacher, just like Mr. Schuster, and be in charge of the Glee Club, just like Mr. Schuster. So those are the subjects that I studied, so I could do that. And then I realized you can't base your life on TV. And so no teaching for me. Anyway.
Yeah, teaching's hard.
It's very, very hard. On TV, they make it look
fun.
They make it look fun. Yeah. Anyway, I know it's hard, and we just appreciate you so much. Now, let's get into some listener letters, shall we?
All right, let's do it. Well, hello, angels. Thank you.
What's in the bag, Wendy? Well, I'll tell you. We got a DM from Bess, a.k.a. BL San, a beloved Patreon and a true crime fan who is doing work within the criminal legal system.
Nice.
And who suggested Stuart Weldon as a case that we cover. Stuart Weldon and, of course, the victims involved in that case.
Right.
And BL was a corrections officer at a prison where he was held for his pre-trial.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
Yeah. So this is the letter ongoing. What an awesome episode. As always, amazing. Fruitloops by far is in my top 3 favorite true crime podcasts. Thank you, Bess, a.k.a. BL
Bess.
San. We love you so much. Hip Hop Air Horns for doing an amazing, difficult job and for being our fruity and Patreon. We love you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you have any questions or comments, please send them to fruitloops@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 602-935-6294. And we may feature it on a future episode. But if you don't want us to, just let us know and we won't.
It is as simple as that.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to get into the story when we come back.
This episode is brought to you by Pluto TV. Are you looking for your next case? Pluto TV has all your favorite crime dramas streaming for free, which means suspicion is free, with countless cases to crack. Watch CSI, Criminal Minds, NCIS, Blue Bloods, Tracker, FBI, and SWAT, all for free from all your favorite devices. Feel the free. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
We're back. Remind us, Beth, who is our subject today?
Our subject today is Vernon Brown, a serial killer and child molester. He murdered girls, molested children of both genders, and killed a woman. He is also suspected in multiple other murders.
Now we're going to get into the love and light section of our show, where we just say, first, rest in power to the victims who lost their lives, but love and light to anybody who survived acts at the hands of the perpetrator or lost loved ones or loved somebody who was harmed by this terrible, heinous series of crimes. And so we want to lift up the names of the survivors that we know. Kimberly Campbell was 9 years old. Sonetta Ford was 19. And Janet Perkins was also 9 years old. Now, I know Sonetta Ford and Janet Perkins were Black girls. I'm not sure about Kimberly Campbell.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But again, rest in power to these young queens. And again, love and light to anybody who loved them or who was touched by this case. So now let's get into the setting. Take us there, Beth.
Well, our subject today was born and brought up in Indianapolis, Indiana. Popularly known as Indy, it is the capital and most populous city of the U.S. state of Indiana. Indiana is sandwiched between Illinois and Ohio, and Indianapolis is located almost in the exact center of the state.
Indigenous people have inhabited this area dating back to 10,000 BC. Again, 10,000 BC. They've been here. And in 1816, the year that Indiana gained statehood, the area was already inhabited by the Lenni Lenape, also known as the Delaware people.
In 1818, in one of 6 treaties between the United States and Native Americans of central Indiana, the Lenni Lenape relinquished their tribal lands. Known as the Treaty of St. Mary's, there were also treaties with the Wyandot, Potawatomi, the Wea, and the Miami.
The Lenni Lenape agreed to leave their tribal lands in central Indiana by 1821. And I feel like agreed is a loosely used term.
Loosely, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that same year, Indianapolis was established as a planned city for the new seat of Indiana state government.
They were so eager to get them out and start this city.
We got to start the Indianapolis whatever. There's stuff there. I don't know. I've never been there. The availability of the new federal lands for purchase in central Indiana attracted many white settlers.
Although the state's first constitution expressly banned slavery or any introduction of slavery, very few Black people lived in central Indiana before 1840. The state was unwelcoming to Black people. In fact, the 1851 state constitution said, quote, "No Negro or mulatto shall come into or settle in the state after the adoption of this constitution," unquote.
It's so interesting how back in the day, all it took was one drop for you to be Black.
Right.
And now there are so many questions about, in particular, Kamala Harris's Blackness.
Yeah. Who's Black?
Who is Black? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
It's interesting how these definitions change according to others, but we know who we are, okay? Now, Black people were not allowed to vote or serve in the militia. They could not testify in court cases involving white people. So if they were harmed and were entitled to civil reward in court, they just couldn't get it. So Black children were also not allowed to attend public schools. After 1831, Black settlers in Indiana were required to register with county authorities, like they were criminals.
Yeah.
And to post a $500 bond as a guarantee of good behavior, which...
That's disgusting.
It's disgusting, and it's also a tool to use to re-enslave or re-engage a Black body in servitude.
Yeah. But Indianapolis was a stop on the Underground Railroad. And during the Civil War, Indianapolis served as a major base of supplies and a gathering place to organize and train troops for the Union Army. The city also became a major railroad hub for troop transport.
That makes sense. It's right in the middle of the country, right?
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, not really, but at the time, it kind of was.
Oh, okay. And shout out to Harriet Tubman and that Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
A famous quote of hers is, I think she freed a few hundred enslaved Black folks, but she said she would have freed thousands more if they knew they were enslaved. What? Mic drop.
Wow.
Yeah. So during this time, as new businesses and industries opened, offering more employment opportunities, the city's population increased. After the war, this manufacturing and industrial growth ushered in a new era of economic prosperity. And Indianapolis's population increased from 8,000 in 1850 to 45,000 by the end of 1864. Wow.
Holy crap. That's a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After the war, Indianapolis continued to develop into a transportation hub. Existing railroad lines expanded and new ones were established, linking Indianapolis to other cities across the nation. In 1876, Colonel Eli Lilly opened a new pharmaceutical laboratory, which later became Eli Lilly and Company.
I hope he didn't do any experiments on black people, but I can't guarantee that that is the case. Don't fact check me. I just have a weird suspicion. I'm actually sweating thinking about what he did in that lab. Also, the railroads were built, and it should be noted, human beings built those railroads, and they were not white. They were black, brown, and Asian bodies on the continent and the area at the time. But by 1880, Indianapolis was Indiana's commercial and industrial center, and the city's population exceeded now 75,000.
Wow.
New industries in Indianapolis included, buckle up, pork packing plants, and foundries. What is a foundry?
A foundry is a factory that produces metal castings.
Oh, thank you so much, Audrey of True Crime. Whatever information you need, she got it.
I Googled that one.
So new industries included pork packing plants and foundries, as well as numerous manufacturers, small businesses, retail shops, and banks.
Indianapolis then experienced tremendous growth and prosperity. Once home to 60 automakers, Indianapolis rivaled Detroit as a center for automobile manufacturing, and a real estate boom led to the establishment of new residential suburbs.
I did not realize that it was comparable to Detroit.
I didn't either.
Wow, look at that. Oh, look at us learning stuff. Between 1900 and 1920, when World War I stopped the flow of European immigration, and northern industries began to recruit southern labor, both black and white, the greatest influx of black immigration in northern cities occurred. But something I have come to learn through my studies of American history is that a lot of black people moved during the Great Migration, but so did a lot of white people.
Yeah, I didn't know that
realize
either.
it.
That's why I added that in here, because that was the first time I had heard that.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad.
And also that the industries were recruiting Southern labor. Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought they were just like black people were just going to where there were industries. I didn't realize that they were being recruited.
Yeah, I think black and white labor were being recruited. But
right.
For white people, I think the drive was more economic. For black people, it was economic and for safety.
Yes. Yeah. And I also didn't know that the reason why is because European immigrants were not coming in because of the war. I didn't
Oh my God, this is why history is so important.
It's fascinating, yeah. So I may have learned it previously, but I didn't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like an eye-opener. I was like,
For sure.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Samesies.
Because we're always talking about European immigrants working these jobs and then black people getting jobs too in the same industries. And I never put that together.
Me either. Whoa, look at us realizing stuff. Do I have a bomb for when your mind explodes? Sound effect, kablooey. What's this one?
Shut
nope,
up!
That's not
That's
right.
a good one.
Yeah.
I like
okay,
it.
it'll work. Okay.
In the first 2 decades of the 20th century, the number of black people in Indianapolis more than doubled, growing from approximately 16,000 in 1900 to 35,000 in 1920.
Wow.
As the black population increased, black entrepreneurs opened businesses on Indiana Avenue, the black cultural center of the area.
Nice. Now, in 1910, Madam C.J. Walker, I'm going to say her name again because it's important. Madam C.J. Walker, the first female self-made millionaire in America. And also, she was a black woman.
First female.
First female, but also...
Female.
Yes, first female ever.
White or black.
White or
Yeah.
black. But she was a black woman, okay?
Yes.
Opened a salon on Indiana Avenue. And this eventually became Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company, where you can get all the creamy crack you want.
But it wasn't all good. The Indiana Klan, led by D.C. Stevenson, became the most powerful political and social organization in Indianapolis from 1921 through 1928, controlling the city council and the board of school commissioners, among others. Ugh.
Yeah.
At its height, more than 40% of native-born white males in Indianapolis claimed membership in the Klan. That's disgusting.
Okay, so this time frame, 1920-something, the 1920-ish time.
Basically, yeah.
That is a scary number, but it's not surprising. Does that make sense?
No, not surprising.
Yeah, it's scary, but not a surprise.
It's gross.
Yeah. So if you ever ask yourself, how segregated was Indianapolis? Then the answer is very. Residential segregation coupled with redlining, reinforced boundaries between the city's white and black populations, which not good.
No. In 1927, the Ku Klux Klan pressured the Board of School Commissioners to build a black-only school. And although school segregation was outlawed in Indiana in 1949, Indianapolis Public Schools reestablished school boundaries to ensure that the school system remained racially divided. So they were doing the same thing, gerrymandering, that the Republicans are doing with voting.
Yeah, no, it's same shit, different
Same
day.
thing. Yeah.
Also, I just think it's so gross, disgusting, and deplorable to intentionally take away from a kid and their
Children.
future. Yeah, that's so
Children.
fucked up.
Yeah, that's very fucked up.
So
It's
shame
like kicking
on them.
puppies.
Yeah, thank you. So the boundaries were so clearly racially motivated that, quote, in some instances, the lines drawn ignored natural boundaries, requiring students to cross a canal with a boat, railroad tracks, or busy street to get to their assigned school, where no impediment stood between the student and an adjoining school, unquote.
A black child tragically died after being struck by a train in 1952 because of these boundaries. And it wasn't until a federal court decision forced Indianapolis to desegregate that Indianapolis public schools began to implement desegregation busing.
This is interesting because this is before the Supreme Court decision that said they had to do it, which was in 1954. So I don't know what to make of that.
Actually, it doesn't say what year it was. It wasn't until a federal court decision forced them to do it. That was actually in 1971.
Fuck! What?
Yeah.
After the Supreme Court? 15 years after the Supreme... Oh, my God. I hate it here. So the first buses of black students began commuting to white schools in 1973. So bringing black kids in to do the work of the grown-ups and desegregate the entire school. Indianapolis residents associated with the Ku Klux Klan became a common presence at anti-busing protest events. And by the way, those people are still alive. And so I wonder where they are now.
Yeah. Perry Meridian High School was the site of many violent racial altercations. The letters KKK were found painted on the school building, and there were rumors of black students coming to school with weapons to protect themselves.
Would you blame them?
No.
Also, this accounting of times 60 years ago feels so recent.
Yeah.
Only one black girl was actually caught with such a weapon. She was concealing a meat cleaver.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
Nah, not in this case. I mean, when you listen to accounts of the Little Rock Nine or Ruby Bridges talking about how kids in school, after you got through the line of parents and police and you made it to your classroom, kids would put glass on your seat for you to sit on. They would throw things at you during class, etc.
So, I was reading about this situation. I couldn't put everything in here, but one story was when the bus pulled up to the school, the white kids came up to the bus and started pounding on the side of the bus and throwing eggs.
We're just, can we agree this is a school and everybody here wants to learn stuff?
Can we just
can
go
we stop with the
learn,
violence?
Okay?
Maybe we should talk about what's happening in the world and discuss, I don't know, education stuff. Anyway, so the situation at Perry Meridian High School had escalated so much that in 1981, not that long ago, the FBI came to investigate.
Yeah, 81. I was in high school.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That is fucking
Yeah,
nuts.
no, these attitudes should have changed by then, but they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. Indianapolis began to phase out forced busing in 1998, ending the court-ordered desegregation era. And Indiana still has some of the most segregated schools in the United States.
Yeah.
It's gross.
But Indiana did give us Michael Jackson, so
True.
take that for what it is, I guess. Now let's get into the early life of Vernon Brown. Well, I'll tell you, Vernon Brown was born on October 1st, 1953 in Indianapolis, Indiana, the oldest of 5 children. His mother was 15 years old when he was born, and he never knew his father. Vernon was raised in poverty, was physically and sexually abused, and may have been the product of an incestuous relationship between his grandfather and his mother.
Yeah, there's no confirmation that that's true, but that's a rumor
Yeah.
that has been said.
Yeah.
Because his mother was often not around, Vernon was largely reared by his grandparents. His grandfather, George, was stern and abusive, reportedly sexually molesting and severely beating Vernon throughout his youth.
According to his later clemency application, quote, Vernon was chained naked and beaten with a switch, a belt, a buggy whip, and a bull whip. This abuse left a trail of welts and bruises. When anyone in the family protested this treatment, George tied Vernon to a bed and severely beat him yet again, unquote.
That's terrible.
Just terror upon terror, violence upon violence. Like, it just sounds like a house of horrors.
Awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Today, the beverage aisle looks a lot different than it used to. America's beverage companies are working together. We're delivering the options everyone wants. In fact, nearly 60% of beverages Americans buy have zero sugar. You'll find more variety than ever, including more of your favorites, now available with zero sugar. You'll also find more sizes and clear calorie information on the front of every can, bottle, and pack. We know when it comes to finding balance, the more choices, the better.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Vernon's difficult childhood was further complicated by a head injury that he endured at a young age. According to his later attorney, he had a low IQ and suffered from severe headaches and memory lapses.
Now, at the age of 16, Vernon dropped out of high school and tried to enlist in the Army, but was rejected. In 1973, when he was 19 or 20, he sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl, for which he spent 4 years in prison.
According to his younger brother, Darius, Vernon was caring and protective towards him when they were children, but he changed after spending time in prison.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
So let's get into the timeline. On August 25th, 1980, shortly after Brown's release from prison, the body of a 9-year-old girl named Kimberly Campbell was found in a house owned by Brown's grandmother. The little girl had been tied up, beaten, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death.
Brown had been seen with Kimberly on August 24th, but without any solid evidence, no indictment was filed. A year later, Brown was charged with molesting an 11-year-old boy and 3 girls aged 9, 7, and 2. Yeah. Warrants were issued for his arrest, and he promptly skipped town.
He often drifted around the country and worked odd jobs until he eventually settled in St. Louis, Missouri, where he married a woman that he met there. A few years later, while still married to his wife,
His first wife.
He married somebody else named Kathy Moore under the alias Thomas Tommy Turner.
Yeah, he never bothered to get a divorce or anything. And I don't know what happened with the first wife, but yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, that's what happened. In 1985, Brown was living in an apartment on Washington Avenue in St. Louis with Kathy. Brown worked as a maintenance worker at the apartment complex that they lived in, and he also worked next door at a restaurant called the Grand Cafe as a dishwasher.
Sometime after February 13th, 1985, Brown and Kathy moved with Kathy's 3 young boys to a house on Enright Avenue, about a mile away from the apartment complex. A few days later, Sonetta Ford, 19, moved into a basement apartment of the complex on Washington with her friend, Alicia Brown, no relation to Vernon Brown. But Alicia Brown was pregnant.
On February 23rd or 24th in 1985, Alicia, Sonetta, and a man named Earl Bedford and Vernon Brown played cards together in Alicia and Sonetta's apartment. Earl later testified that Brown flirted with Sonetta, but she wasn't interested.
On February 28, 1985, Alicia checked into a hospital for about 10 days due to complications with her pregnancy. Prior to her admission into the hospital, Alicia had discussed with Brown the possibility of him working on their apartment rug and event.
Brown went to Alicia and Sonetta's apartment to take up the rug on March 2nd and then the 4th, but Sonetta told him to wait until Alicia came back from the hospital. On March 5th, Sonetta called her friend Vicki Noland. She was speaking very fast, and she asked Vicki to, quote, "Come get me now," unquote.
God.
Yeah.
Sonetta told Vicki that she was afraid because she had come home to find Brown hanging out on the stairway near the entrance of her apartment. Vicki picked Sonetta up at about 2:35 p.m., and she spent the night with her. The last time Vicki saw Sonetta was when Sonetta left for work on the morning shift at Victor Foods at about 4:30 a.m. the next morning.
Alicia's brother Anthony worked with Sonetta at Victor Foods. Anthony last saw Sonetta on Wednesday, March 6, 1985, between 3:30 p.m. and 3:45 p.m. at work. He later testified that she told him about her encounter with Brown.
On March 7th, at 10:30 a.m., Brown arrived at the Grand Cafe and told a chef that he was sick and did not want to work. The chef told him to go home and come back the next day if he felt better.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, bye.
On March 8th at about 4 p.m., so it's the next day,
Okay.
Alicia was picked up from the hospital by Earl Bedford. When they arrived at her apartment, which she shared with Sonetta, they found that the door to the apartment had been shattered from the frame.
From the frame is a lot.
Yeah.
Now, when they entered the apartment, they saw Sonetta's body on the floor with a knife sticking out of her throat and an electrical cord from a curling iron tightly knotted around the neck. They ran out and called the police.
A later autopsy that was performed indicated that Sonetta died from strangulation and that she had been stabbed twice, once in the chest and once in the neck.
People, including Brown, began to gather at the front of the apartment building. Brown asked Alicia what happened, and she replied that she had found her roommate dead. Brown appeared surprised.
What?
Yeah, Brown.
She's dead?
Brown, get out of here. If it's Brown, flush it down. Just flush him down the toilet.
Brown was interviewed by the police at the crime scene. He told them that he moved out of the apartment building where Sonetta lived 3 weeks earlier, but that he still received mail there. He told them that when he stopped by to pick up some mail at about 10:15 a.m. on March 7th, he heard Sonetta arguing with a Cuban man.
Brown gave the police a description of the purported Cuban man. Police had him help come up with a composite picture of the man, and it went faster than usual. According to the police, it doesn't usually happen that way.
Yeah, it often takes a long time because the person will say that the nose isn't right or the eyes aren't right, requiring more work. But not so with Brown. He was just like, yep, that's right.
Yep, you got it. Yep, officer, that's him.
And that made police suspicious.
Yeah.
They then gave him a polygraph, which he did not pass, putting him at the top of the suspect list.
In the 90s, these were the tools that they used and the best that they, I guess, had at the time. But it's the best that they had at the time. So Brown was interviewed by the police on March 9th, which was the day after Sonetta's body was found. And then again on the 22nd and the 26th. On March 28th, after telling Kathy that he was tired of the police bothering him about Sonetta's murder. I don't like them bothering me. Brown packed up his clothes and he just left.
Yeah. He left Kathy holding the bag.
Yeah.
And he told Kathy to tell the police that he had been abducted by 3 men.
What now?
Dressed in black and carrying guns in a red Pinto.
Oh, no, not
That's
a Pinto.
An odd...
So specific. Kathy, does your husband have a pattern of specific lies like this?
So police came looking for Brown on April 1st, and Kathy told them the abduction story.
But on April 2nd, Kathy admitted that the story was not true and that she wanted to be a secret witness because she was afraid of Brown. Shout out to her using her opportunity. She told the police that Brown told her that he had killed Sonetta after they got into a fight over money. And Sonetta threatened to say that they were having an affair.
A likely story.
Mm-hmm.
According to Kathy, Brown said that after Sonetta left the apartment, he went inside and hid in her bathroom. When she returned and changed into her night clothes, he came up behind her and wrapped a cord around her neck.
Unprovoked.
Unprovoked.
They then got into a scuffle over a knife. He took the knife away from Sonetta and stabbed her in the neck with it. Brown then kicked in the door to make it look like someone had broken into the apartment.
Well, yeah, because he was a maintenance man, so
he had a key.
He didn't want the police to know that he had gotten in with a key.
Got it. Okay.
On April 24th, Brown was arrested pursuant to a warrant, taken to the police station, and was given his Miranda rights. Brown told them the abduction story, and the police told him that they did not believe him because his wife had told them the truth, she wanted to be a secret witness, you guys.
Come on.
Fuckers.
An example of a black woman trusting the police.
Yeah.
And they fucked the
totally
trust part
screwed her
up.
over.
Because
Yeah.
if they don't indict him or hold him, she's in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just shame on that police department. But the police did not have any physical evidence. All they had was his wife's story, and Missouri law allowed for a defendant to disallow their spouse's testimony. Interesting. Even if the spouse is willing to testify. Without that evidence, the case fell apart and police let him go.
Yeah, and I don't know. It sounds like he went back and was living with Kathy again.
Yeah, but it sounds like it was... I don't know. I read the court transcripts. It sounds like it wasn't great.
Yeah. No, it wasn't great.
No.
Not.
She went back.
It
was very awful.
It was terrible.
Horrifying. Yeah.
The following year, on October 24th, 1986, at around 3 p.m., 9-year-old Janet Perkins left the Cole School in North St. Louis, right down the street from Brown's house on Enright Avenue. She generally took the same route each day, west on Enright Avenue towards her home 3.5 blocks away. And under normal circumstances, the trip took less than 15 minutes.
Vernon Brown, who was still using the name Thomas Turner, had picked up his stepsons from the Cole School and returned to their home on Enright Avenue in time to see Janet walking past. Brown called her and ultimately enticed her to enter the house.
Yeah, and his stepsons knew her.
Yeah,
so.
they were friends. Oh,
right.
They were friends. Oh, man. Ugh. This is hard.
A neighbor's relative saw Brown on the front porch and Janet walking up the steps to the house. Brown's stepson saw Janet enter the house. Brown ordered the stepsons to their bedroom and locked the door from the outside.
Yeah, right behind them. Get your asses in there. Brown took Janet to the basement of the house, and his stepsons later told jurors when they testified at trial, bravely, right, they're still kids, that they had to listen to Janet's screams through a vent, and Janet was their friend. Brown eventually strangled her to death with a rope, then dumped her body in 2 trash bags in the alley behind his house.
The next day, authorities found Janet's body in the trash bags near a dumpster in the alley behind his house. Missing was one of her shoes, her raincoat, and some school papers.
I appreciate you for not putting the details of what he did
I didn't
to her.
want that
Thank you.
in there.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're going to get into the investigation and the arrest. So the investigation raised suspicion about Brown. When suspicion turned to probable cause, then the police decided to arrest his ass on October 27th and confronted him with their evidence, including testimony of a neighbor who had seen Janet enter Brown's house.
They asked Brown to tell them where to find Janet's missing shoe, raincoat, and school papers. Brown led police to a different dumpster in which they found a bag containing Janet's missing property.
Brown made a videotape statement implicating himself as Janet's killer. Brown told police that he strangled Janet while under the influence of PCP.
In a subsequent statement, Brown also admitted to killing Sonetta Ford, claiming that she had attacked him with a knife and accidentally stabbed herself.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brown said that around 10 a.m. on March 7th, 1985, he left home and headed for his place of work at the Grand Cafe.
Brown told police that when he arrived at work, he told the cook that he was not feeling well, and the cook told him that he could go home. Instead, Brown actually went to the apartments on Washington and then went to the basement.
He said that he saw Sonetta standing in the doorway to her apartment. According to Brown, as he walked up the stairs, she attacked him with a butcher knife.
What?
They began to tussle and ended up inside the apartment, of course.
Have you ever seen the Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah.
How they're just so preposterous.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's
this is
what
a Fast and Furious true crime story.
Yes, that's what his fabrication is. Fast and Furious adjacent. So then as Sonetta swung the knife at him, she accidentally stabbed herself in the chest. And now, Black people are very good at telling stories, compelling ones at that. That is passed down from our ancestry. And so I feel like Vernon Brown is channeling that in his lie.
Yeah, retelling of this lie. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, but what a story indeed. So he said, then Sonetta swung the knife at him. You know, he's probably like using his arms all animated like I'm doing. He swung the knife, accidentally stabbed herself in the chest, and as he tried to leave, she removed the knife from her chest and attacked him a second time. Then,
okay, who's doing the PCP?
Hang on a second, officers. He grabbed the curling iron, right? I don't know where it was, but he grabbed it, and then he took this cord, and then he wrapped it around Sonetta's neck several times, and then he tied a knot in the cord.
Yeah. Okay. And while he's doing that, they wrestled, falling to the ground.
Wow.
And in their struggle, the victim stabbed herself in the throat.
Okay.
With the knife.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Likely.
Yeah. And yeah. Okay.
I don't even know what to say. This is so ridiculous.
I don't either. Yeah. Again, it's fantasy, like WWE, like, okay, brother, and then and then brother, and then
I threw a chair.
Yeah.
So he got up and left Sonetta's apartment. When he reached the top of the steps, he realized that he had left his keys inside the apartment. So he kicked in the door, went back inside, and got his keys, and then left.
Okay. Show of hands. Is this story believable?
Who believes this story?
So now let's get into the trial. On November 18th, 1986, a St. Louis City grand jury indicted Brown on 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Janet Perkins and Sonetta Ford. Brown's counsel moved to suppress the 2 videotape statements and to sever the trials on the 2 murders, so 2 separate trials. And the trial court sustained the motion to sever, but overruled the motion to suppress.
In 1987, Indianapolis prosecutors charged him with the murder of 9-year-old Kimberly Campbell, the little girl who had been murdered in 1980 and left in the home owned by Brown's grandmother. Prosecutors also charged him with molesting 4 other children.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Spotify.
The trial for Janet's murder began on October 17th, 1988, nearly 2 years after she had been killed. Brown was convicted. During the penalty phase, Brown's stepsons testified that Brown repeatedly molested them while they were living with him. Brown was also a suspect in several other murders.
The jury recommended that Brown be put to death. The trial court concurred, entering its judgment of conviction and sentence of death on December 2nd, 1988.
In 1991, Brown was convicted for the 1985 murder of Sonetta Ford. This time, Kathy Moore's testimony was allowed because the two were not technically married due to Brown's using an alias and not terminating his prior marriage. So Brown was again sentenced to death.
And I don't know if he was ever, what is it called when they try to get you to be tried in a different state?
Extradited?
Yeah, I don't know if he was ever extradited for the murder of Kimberly Campbell. I don't know what happened with that case.
Well,
but I'm pretty sure he did it.
Yeah, it's...
I don't know why I laughed. This is all horrible, you know. And we've talked about this before. We laugh because it's so uncomfortable.
It is, yeah. It's to keep from crying.
Yeah.
But we are in no way downplaying the harm, the loss,
the crimes. Yeah.
Yes. So now let's get into where are they now? Tell us, Beth.
Well, Vernon Brown was executed by lethal injection in Missouri on May 17th, 2005. Janet's grandmother, Susie Perkins, said that she and other family members would not attend. She said, quote, "I'm a little ill to make it, but I will be glad when it happens, when it's over with. It's taken a long time. It's finally here, so I'm glad," unquote. Sonetta's family did attend.
In the hours before his execution, Brown watched a little television and took calls from his mother and brother. His last meal was shrimp, French fries, salad, and cake.
At 11:30 p.m., Brown was strapped to the gurney. At 11:56 p.m., the Supreme Court notified the Missouri Attorney General's office of a temporary stay of execution. The issues in front of the court dealt with the constitutionality of Missouri's method of lethal injection and racial disparity in executions.
Brown's attorney had argued that the drugs used in lethal injection could cause excessive pain, citing a recent article in the Lancet Medical Journal with research, quote, showing that the 3-chemical process used by some states to carry out lethal injections has the possibility of causing unnecessary cruelty and suffering, unquote.
Brown had declined a sedative at 7 p.m., but agreed to sedation at about 1 a.m. Reportedly, he fell asleep for a while. After more than 3 hours strapped to the gurney, waiting to hear the U.S. Supreme Court's final decision on his appeal, the execution went ahead.
Brown offered no words of explanation or apology to the families of his victims. His last words were, quote, "You'll see me again. To all my friends, don't think of me as being gone, but there with you. And to Jazz, who has my heart and love, peace, love, Vernon Brown," unquote. And is Jazz the mother of his stepsons?
Nobody knows who Jazz is.
Wait a minute.
Nobody knows.
What if he just
Maybe
loved
it's just
jazz
the
music?
Yeah.
Goodbye, jazz music? What? Who is this guy? Oh my God. This is the, oh my God. I feel like I know, I'm frustrated because I feel like I know Vernon Brown and am frustrated with the Vernon Brown of it all. Sorry, Beth.
So the first drug was administered at 2:32 a.m., and Brown was pronounced dead at 2:35 a.m. He was 51, and Brown remains a suspect in 20-plus murders.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are they waiting for in terms? That seems...
Well,
DNA?
There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do anymore.
I guess.
He's dead.
All right. Well, You know what, Beth? How about you tell me what you think about this case? Fruities, you tell us what you think. You know where to find us. But Beth, you're here now.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, he, as a child, was abused and sexually assaulted. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think you have to be a genius to figure out why he got all fucked up.
Nope.
But I am so disgusted by him.
Yeah.
And I'm anti-death penalty, but if anyone deserved it, it was this guy.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. He ruined so many lives.
Yeah.
Not just the people he killed and their families, but the children that he molested as well. And how many of them were there? There had to have been tons of them.
I think so too, because this doesn't just happen overnight. And it sounds like he was, to me, it sounded like from reading and researching, abused by his grandfather for sport.
Right.
And hurt people, hurt other people. An explanation, as the OG of true crime says, but not an excuse.
Not an excuse.
And there are lots of hurt people who are healing and trying to break those generational curses, right? Who are doing their best to not harm other people in the process of healing.
Right.
Especially and not in such a heinous way. But Janet Perkins and Kimberly Campbell were 9-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Those are the girls' names that we know of. And Sonetta Ford was a teenager. And the court records were really helpful in me understanding the details and chronology of events.
Yeah.
But boy, they didn't hold back. And it was really hard to read about the description of the crimes and how they describe, you don't usually see this in court records, describe how the kids were harmed.
Yeah.
And we also heard from the boys' testimony how they heard another kid being harmed and how that harmed them. And it's just so much.
It's harm after harm after harm.
Everywhere. Yeah. I just feel awful for everybody. Their stepdad invited their friend Janet into their home. And I think they thought they were going to play.
Yeah.
And he just put them in the room and locked the door right behind them and then screams.
Yeah.
It just took me out. Yeah. And I want to commend those young boys because that took courage to tell the truth in court.
Yeah.
And go through that process. And there was, as Beth said, harm upon harm upon harm.
Yeah.
And violence, terror, evil. This is just, Brown is, I don't know what to say. I have no words. But hurting kids to me is unthinkable. It's inhuman. Like
the worst of the worst.
Yeah. And the DSM-5, I think that's the most current one today, defines pedophilic disorder as adults who have this sexual attraction to prepubescent children. And if that definition is correct, based on what we know, I agree with Beth's sort of conclusion that there's probably a lot more kids out there who were harmed. And in the United States, we have this fucked up way of treating young people who are victimized and vulnerable to this. And that's evolved from, the 70s, 80s, whatever, from indifference and carelessness and even punishing kids for being harmed in this way.
Yeah.
Like it was their fault.
Blaming them.
Yes. And we're getting better and continuing to do so. But my wish is that this just never fucking happened.
Yeah.
That the people would just leave kids alone.
Just stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop it. Yeah.
Just leave children alone. And to the loved ones who survived, my heart goes out to them because I cannot imagine a loss like this and the difficulty of having to pick up the pieces and go on with your life and still have to live it.
Yeah.
And something that is too familiar, that I'm more familiar with as a human being who's experienced it, is crimes of sexual violence. And many humans, especially women and kids, have survived that type of violation, which personally, I have thought of it as like a murder or attempted murder of a soul.
Yeah.
And other victims may describe it completely differently and totally okay. But if you're like left to pick up the pieces and figure out what the fuck happened to you and how to exist in this world with not a lot of help.
Yeah.
And the resources probably not what they are today.
Yeah.
So not much for the victims, but the system looks at, convictions and arrests as justice. And that might not ring true for the people who are still here.
Who are victimized, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this was just really sad. Just sad. So my
really
heart goes out to anybody touched by this case.
Yeah.
So let us know your takes. Now we're going to go on and talk about how not to get murdered.
Okay.
Try to strike a chord, and there's probably a murder. has been singing that, the Kendrick Lamar song?
No.
Okay, because my kids know all the words and won't stop rapping it in this house.
Not yet. He
everything
hasn't.
is a minor. So
well, it might be coming soon.
Yeah, just
Who
you
knows?
wait.
Yeah.
Just you wait. Yeah, there's a jingle for that. If you love true crime and you don't want to die, here's a tip for you.
This segment is not intended to be victim blaming. We thought of this segment because I read somewhere that a lot of people listen to true crime because they want to know what they can do to be safer. This is not meant to blame the victims. It's just learning from other people's experiences.
So, y'all, I apologize. I have no new fresh tips. As always, Fruities, heads on those swivels. Look out for each other and be smart. Trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
If you have any tips and you are a true crime fruity fan, we would love to know what you do out here in these streets to stay safe, stay alive.
Yeah, send us your tips.
Put us on game, please. Put us on the safety game. Put us on the how not to get murdered game.
Yeah.
So I guess now it's time for shout outs.
Right on. Okay, let's do it.
Shout out time where we shout out any content by or about any people of color or LGBTQ folks or by or about any other marginalized people or any true crime goodies.
All right.
So I just got two.
Okay.
Accident, Suicide, or Murder, the series, is on Peacock.
Peacock. Okay, cool.
Season 4, and it's, I've turned it into a nice weekend watch while I'm doing work or laundry, folding laundry and stuff. I'm not super invested in it, but I do enjoy it.
It's entertaining.
It's entertaining. Dateline True Crime Weekly podcast. I don't know why I have not realized how amazing this podcast is, but it's so juicy and it's so informative. It's Dateline.
Yeah.
So you know it's good.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you here. What do you got, Beth?
Okay, great. Thanks. I wanted to shout out True Crime Goodie. It's Mastermind to Think Like a Serial Killer on Hulu.
Ooh.
And it features Anne Burgess, a psychiatric nurse who worked with the FBI. And the Mind Hunters character, Dr. Wendy Carr, is based on her. Very loosely based on her.
Loosely schmooshly.
Yeah. And then I wanted to, again, shout out Hidden True Crime, our true crime pals.
Yes.
They are doing these episodes about this Blue Barrel killer, Timothy Hazlitt Jr., who is probably a serial killer.
Okay.
He probably murdered several women and put them in blue barrels. And
oh my God,
they
you were just telling me about this.
Women. Yeah,
this is
they
current.
were black women.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Oh my God.
This is current.
Thank you, Beth. Hang on a second. Gotta subscribe. Okay, go ahead.
This happened very recently. It's a white guy, and he's apparently like super racist, and he was killing black girls. So, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
And then for something light, check out Kamala Harris's TikTok account. It's Kamala HQ, and it's awesome.
Whoa. Give me one example of the awesomeness or what it makes you feel.
Oh, it made me happy. It makes me happy.
That's all I need to hear.
I'm trying to remember. They had, what caught my attention was a video where they have Trump. And he's saying, he's talking, they say that I'm a felon and she's a prosecutor or something like that.
Oh, she turned it into a campaign ad.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then at the end it says, my name is Kamala Harris and I approve this message.
Man. She made a decision early on to say, I love the young people. I love the Gen Z. And they are really stepping up for her, helping her transcend. So just to recap all of those wonderful things, we got Accident, Suicide, or Murder on Peacock, Deadline True Crime, a weekly podcast wherever you get your podcast, Mastermind, to Think Like a Serial Killer on Hulu, Hidden True Crime, Blue Barrel podcast.
The Blue Barrel episodes.
The Blue Barrel episodes about Timothy Hazlitt Jr., and those can be found wherever you get your podcasts, as well as Kamala HQ TikTok account, which sounds like it's a hug for all of our eyeballs and souls.
It is, yeah.
Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media. The footnotes for each episode can be found on our website. Plus, check it out for the different ways that you can support the show. Also, join us on Patreon, where we have literally hundreds of hours of bonus content. You can also support us by supporting our sponsors or by giving us a 5-star review.
5 stars only, please.
Also, don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. Now, listen close. This is a weekly podcast, and new episodes drop every Thursday. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there. I guess without further ado, should we adieu the show?
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay. Well, quick sip of a liquid, watery beverage.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one more, just because that one felt good.
In the first... Wait, hold on. I can't see.
Oh, the Lenino...
I don't know what happened there.
So it's okay.
Let me start over.
Oh my God, my screen went away. Wait, no, it's your turn. Wait, no, I didn't finish.
No, the situation.
Alicia had discussed with the Brown... With the Browns.
Sorry.
With
Brown.
With Brown. On March 7th, 1995, at about 10:30 a.m., Brown...
Whoops.
Whoop.
That can't be right. Just say March 7th. Sorry.
That's okay. I was like, oh, okay.
I don't know why I have the year in there in all of these, and it's not 95.
Beth, it's gonna be all right.
Sorry.
It's gonna be all right. You're going to the beach soon. Now on March.
What?
Yeah, Brown.
She's dead?
Brown, get out of here. If it's Brown, flush it down. Just flush him down the toilet. His fabrication is Fast and Furious adjacent. I'm frustrated with the Vernon Brown of it all. Sorry, Beth. Scrolling down, additional thoughts. Check tune, AACC. If you have any pills, send me all the pills, because boy, oh boy, it's a lot out here. No, if you have
late.
any, yes, it's late. I know what I was going to tell you. Did you see that review we got? Somebody thought we were MAGA.
No.
Yeah, Apple Podcast review.
Oh, I gotta look.
These, all you want to do is talk about black serial killers? Go back to MAGA, ladies. I was like, whoa, they think I'm what in the world? What kind of vibes am I giving off that people think we
I think they probably
MAGA
didn't
maniacs?
Listen to the podcast.
That's gotta be it. Where in the world did that impression come from?
Okay, well, thanks, Demigoddess 93.
Yes, and God bless you wherever
crazy.
you may be.
Oh, it says Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
That's what so I kind of thought, oh, maybe, well, the United States is crazy. It could be easy to confuse all of us for dummies. People often do when we travel, like when we go to...
I wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of us are dummies.
Amen to that. All right. Sorry for that tangent.
All right, back to the story.
Yeah, back to the story. So,
and that's it.
That's it. Wow, we did it. Okay, well, in that case, I guess that's all.
That's all. I'll talk to you later.
Enjoy
I'll talk to you on the internet. Thank you.
Bye, Minnie. Enjoy the sand. Don't get sunburned. You guys, seriously, be careful. I am concerned about your...
No, don't be concerned. I always slather on the suntan lotion, and I have a tent for the beach, so we'll be in the shade.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
I thought of everything.
Good. That's all I need to know. Now go have a blast. Don't get arrested. Love you very much. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Ohio is a land of mystery, from missing shipwrecks and lost treasure beneath her surface to strange phenomenon slicing through her skies. From myths that have evolved around historic events and people to the unsolved murders and disappearances that keep her communities wondering what happened. Find Ohio Mysteries on your favorite podcast app, and let's explore the inexplicable. OhioMysteries.com.
Hello, this is Gary Chahot welcoming you to check out the French History Podcast. Our main show covers the history of France from the first humans until present. If you liked Mike Duncan's The History of Rome and wanted a similar program covering the land of beauty, culture, and love, we are exactly that. We also host world-renowned scholars who have delivered guest episodes on their specialties, including 18th century pirates, revolutionary booksellers in 20th century Paris, the special friendship between the Marquis de Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson, and numerous others. Learn what you love and listen to the French History Podcast today.